before we go too much further, why bother? I mean, why bother with property? Why spend all that money, have all that hassle, all that heartache maybe, and worry and stress, and why do we love property? Well, there must be a reason, because most of us, I think, aspire to owning our own home, okay? And that's just as a place to live. And let's not forget the number one reason why surely investing in property is a good thing is because at the end of the day, it does provide a home. You can't say that about stocks and shares. You can't say that about ostrich farms or gold or any other investments. At the end of the day, a property does that primeval thing of providing somewhere for somebody to live. Now, that could be you, if you're an owner-occupier, or it could be a tenant if you're renting it out. Or it could be a business if you're renting it out to a business. So intrinsically, we need property. And the great news, if you're investing in property in the UK, is that we don't have enough houses. So it's pretty good to invest in a commodity which there is a shortage of supply of, isn't it, right? Grant Shapps, when he was the housing minister, said, there is a huge demand for rental housing, but there is a massive lack of houses for rent. Okay, and he was the housing minister, so he knew what he was talking about. So here you, at this most basic level, you've got loads of people who want to buy houses or rent houses to live in, and you've got not enough of those houses for people to buy or rent to live in. So if you're investing in that commodity as a starting point, that's got to be a good thing. Buy things which are in demand, and houses always have been and always will be. Now, I know that over the years we've had ups and downs in the property market, and sometimes, you know, that results in an oversupply, and that results in property prices going down or being recorrected. And we've certainly seen that in the, you know, the property collapses of the late 1900s or the late 1990s, and then 2007, 2008. But even with those kind of corrections, things come right. And if you look over the long term, and I'm talking since records began in a kind of official kind of way in 1945 or around that time, since then, property prices have gone up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And they might have some variations, and sometimes they go down a little bit and whatever, but the trend is the kind of direction you would want. So I think long term, property is, and since records began always has been, a good thing to put your money into. If I said to you, okay, how about buying a property at the prices they were at the height just before they collapsed in 2007, say in the London market, would you buy it now if I offered it at that price? The answer is you would, because it's still a lot less than it is today. So even buying at the height of the property market just before a crash, we're still back and up beyond what those prices were at that time. So long term, it makes sense. You can leverage a property. Now, leverage is where you use not all of your own money to invest in something. If you buy a stock or a share, then invariably you're going to have to use most of your money. If you buy gold, you're going to have to use most of your money. But if you buy a house, often you can get a mortgage. That's where somebody else will lend you money. So you say, want to buy a £100,000 house, you only have to find £20,000 and somebody else will give you £80,000. So in theory, if you had £100,000 to spend, you could buy 5 £100,000 houses with 80% mortgages on all of them. That's leverage. That's really maximising your investment. Because when that 20% goes up by whatever it goes up by, the relative percentage is multiplied. And so it's a really good thing to do. And people, again, who are lending money recognise property as an asset class that's safe to lend against. It's easy to understand property as an investment as well. I think most of us grew up in a house, hopefully, so we understand the way it works. And although there's lots to learn, which is why I've got my property training courses, and you can find out more at martinrobertspropertyeducation.com, but I've got those because it can be a complicated thing, and certainly once you get deeper and deeper into it, there's lots of things that you need to learn to do it efficiently. But at its most basic level, it is quite simple and easy to get your head round. So that's got to be really good news. And there is also an opportunity by clever research, by looking around and just being diligent, you can find property which is below what it's actually worth in terms of price. Well, that sounds a bit strange. We call it buying below market value. For lots of reasons, there are people out there who will sell properties at less than they're actually worth. Maybe for a quick sale, maybe they sell at auction, and when they expect to take a bit of a hit. And if you do your research properly, you can buy something that actually is worth £100,000 for £80,000. So buying in, you're immediately in a positive situation when it comes to equity. And you generally can't do that with lots of things. So that's another good reason why property makes sense. And that is why people who invest in property, who take it seriously, who are professional about it, who invest in themselves in terms of learning how to do it properly, end up being some of the richest people, not only in the UK, but in the world. The richest people in the world are people who, more often than not, have made that through property. So, do you need any more reasons why property is something that you really should be thinking about investing in?